The Man with the Yin-Yang Eyes. Season 2. Episode 7. Hello, it's me again, Lucius Gregory here. You probably know that strange things have been haunting me ever since I opened my yin-yang eyes. The previous story had just ended a few days before another story came. Yesterday, I remembered I was sleeping in my bed. For some reason, when I opened my eyes, my surroundings turned into a sea of water. My mind was dizzy at that time. I waited for a while to wake up and suddenly heard the noise behind. I thought it was Big D, so I suddenly turned my head. The corner of my eye just glanced back, but I was extremely alarmed. Behind me is not Big D. The thing behind is slowly emerging to the surface as a monster with a green body, combined with a long, terrifying red tongue. It saw that I discovered it and quickly approached to attack me. This monster is probably a water demon, turned into some drowning ghost. It is trying to drown me to the bottom. When I am dead, this water demon can start pregnant. The water demon drowned me, and the water rushed into my nose and mouth, making me unbearably suffocated. But I'm not that young boy who just stumbled. I've faced and destroyed so many demons and ghosts before. I don't want to die here. I can't lose my life like this. I use all my strength, struggling to break free from the water demon's control. But somehow, the more I struggled, the more I couldn't get out. I felt my breath getting weaker and weaker, almost unable to hold on anymore. For a moment, I thought I would have to close my eyes and accept my fate as a substitute for the water demon. Suddenly, a pain came from my face that made me get out of that uncomfortable suffocation. My whole body felt heavy, as if someone was sitting on it. One of my cheeks felt like someone had just slapped it. Finally woke up. I suddenly opened my eyes. It turned out that all this was just a nightmare. I was still lying in my dear bed, but why everything was so real? I didn't have time to think anymore when suddenly I saw Big D sitting on top of me. So many thoughts I had just thrown behind my head. Big Fat D, what are you doing on top of me? Come down. That position really made me have some bad reminded. I bent my legs and kicked him in his fat ass and then angrily shouted, "Oh my gosh, my ass, this wicked man. I just went to buy food back. I was about to wake you up, but I saw you screaming. Your expression was twisted and scary. I thought you had a nightmare, so I shook you up, but you didn't wake up. I just slapped you to wake you up. However, when you woke up, I was kicked. What a man you are." Big D rubbed his ass while condemning me. "Oh, I'm so sorry. I just had a nightmare, so my reaction was a bit harsh. I'm too old. My waist is about to be broken by you." When I heard that, I quickly put my arm around Big D's shoulder and smiled apologetically. He saw that I looked embarrassed and ashamed, so he forgives me this time. "Come on. Hurry up and get ready to change and go out to eat to cool down." Big D sat rubbing his waist and rubbing his stomach while grumbling at me for a few more minutes, then came down to urge me to clean up quickly, then went out. After Big D left, I felt layers of cold sweat on my body. The dream just now was too real. Wow, breakfast looks delicious. Stop talking nonsense. Sit down and have a quick meal. After I changed my clothes, I went out. Big D told me to sit down quickly. "What kind of nightmare did you have just now? Your face looked like a dead fish. Even more, you cried and did not wake up. Your mouth was screaming. I dreamed that a water demon drowned me." I told the whole dream to Big D. There was nothing important to hide from him. "Oh, did you dream about water demons? Coincidentally, we're going to have a water-related job as well." After listening to Big D, I felt a strange feeling rising. What job? Or stop and don't accept? I suddenly have the feeling that I'm not too fond of water lately. What are you saying? This job pays a lot of money. I don't know why, but the uncomfortable feeling when I hear the word water makes me feel a little nervous. Okay, but first, you have to tell me what kind of work it is. I painfully realize that I probably can't turn down this man's greed for money. It's not like I have a friend who is running a swimming pool business. He's been quite unlucky lately. In a row 2 people died in his swimming pool. The police are investigating. He heard about your special ability, so he came to ask us to help him do some spells, as well as try to investigate a bit to see if there is a way to help him. Big D must have heard my half-disgruntled, half-resentful voice, so he quickly spoke up. This friend of Big D has a private pool, not the other kind of collective pool, but only 1 or 2 guests at a time need a private space to relax and exercise. Big D's friend is named Thomas Lewis. Although he opened a private swimming pool, it was not too high class, so there were not many employees. That day the staff of the pool had an unexpected problem, so he asked to leave early, so that evening there was only Mr. Lewis at the pool area. Around 6 o'clock in the evening, a girl came. She was a familiar customer, so Mr. Lewis also didn't hesitate to open the door a little late to give her some time to relax. The girl registers with Mr. Lewis, then went straight into the pool. But the strange thing is, normally this girl was only in the pool for 40 minutes at most, but this time she stayed for more than an hour without going out. Mr. Lewis felt strange and a little worried, and he decided to go in and ask a little bit about how this familiar customer had been in the pool for so long today. But when he entered the swimming pool and saw what was happening in front of his eyes, the whole face of Mr. Lewis went from pink to pale, from worry to fear. His heart felt like it was about to explode. The girl from earlier was floating in the water, indicating that she had died from drowning. Mr. Lewis quickly called the police. The police arrived and conducted an autopsy. After an autopsy, the police concluded that this was a murder, not an accident or a suicide. At first, Mr. Lewis is considered a suspect, but based on the camera at the time of death, Mr. Lewis couldn't be the killer. The camera part in the swimming story was faulty, so the police couldn't see what happened inside, so they immediately extracted the tape to investigate more closely and see if the camera error could be fixed. The other girl's case was not over when a sanitation worker was found dead in the swimming pool. Although the swimming pool had to be temporarily closed for investigation, Mr. Lewis still regularly cleans it. The police also came to examine the body and found that it was also a murder case. Although the camera was not damaged like last time, what happened this time was also extremely abnormal. When the sanitation worker finished cleaning up, he suddenly walked towards the pool, took off his clothes, and jumped into the water. He swam back and forth for a few lines, then suddenly his face became contorted. The whole body gradually sank into the water. A moment later, the whole body swelled to the surface, drowned. The police also began to suspect this was not an accident. Let's go there and check it out. When Big D finished talking, I quickly finished breakfast. I quickly got up and put on my shirt, and urged him to go to the private pool with me. Big D saw that I was impatient, so he quickly cleaned up and followed me to the swimming pool. When we got there, we saw a notice of suspension posted on the front door. "Hey buddy, are you here?" We found the door ajar and didn't lock, so we thought someone was waiting inside, so we pushed the door open. Big D called out to this friend of his. Mr. Lewis heard the call and opened the door from the inside as if he had just reached the swimming pool. I think it's a bit surprising that I didn't see fear in his eyes. I was a little bit interested in what was on Mr. Lewis' neck. Around his neck was a red string, and the pendant was a small card with a strange shape. Seeing us coming, Mr. Lewis greeted us quickly and intent to give us a protect charm first. "Oh, no need, my friend is powerful. This is the person that I have told you about before. He has exterminated many demons, and he probably doesn't need these charms. Big D introduced me. It's such an honor that Big D invited you here to help me. Big D keeps saying things about me that make me embarrassed. Okay, don't waste any more time. We should quickly go to the swimming pool to check it out. Then you two should go in there and have a look. I have to go for a while. I will come back soon. I won't disturb you two. Big D kept pulling and pulling Louis and bragging, almost forgetting the purpose of us going here. That makes me angry. Besides, I naturally have the feeling that I don't want to talk too much with that man. Mr. Lewis let the two of us into the pool without following us there, as if he didn't want to get too close to the pool. So why did we come out from there when we arrived just now? I'm a bit confused. What are you thinking so wistfully? I feel that there is something strange about the owner of the swimming pool. It seems that he wants to hide something from us. Come on, come inside and have a look. I haven't seen anything yet, so I don't want to talk too much with Big D, afraid he'll spill to his friend. The two of us silently walked into the pool area. What's up? Is there anything strange? What's in the swimming pool? Big D saw me take off my glasses and started observing. After a while, he asked impatiently. No, I haven't found anything yet. I answered through the speaker and then looked around. I wasn't too hasty. I went around carefully, checking the nooks and crannies inside the pool to see if there was anything strange. Hey Gregory, do you feel cold? Why I suddenly feel so cold? Is this swimming pool air-conditioned or something? Oh, there's this thing. I discovered something on the floor, so I didn't pay much attention to Big D's complaint. Ashes? Someone burned something here. Have you discovered anything strange yet? I'm about to freeze. It's too cold. I sat down on one knee and checked and discovered that someone had burned something by the poolside. I recall the scene. Louis stepped out of the pool area a little suspiciously. Big D next to me is still complaining, so he hasn't noticed my strangeness yet. Probably Mr. Lewis was afraid of being disturbed by those things, so he burned the charm to prevent it. Oh, human psychology. Big D complained for a while and saw the pile of ashes, and he immediately spoke to clear my doubts. These drowned souls are hard to see unless they're out of the water so can see, but normally it's hard to tell even with yin-yang eyes. Mr. Simmons once told me before, I said. So, what are we supposed to do? I stopped thinking about that and stood up to give some explanation to the talkative person beside me. Now we can only go down there and have a look. Oh, but who came down here? Shouldn't it be me? You know, I don't have any powers, and I don't have any exorcisms. For example, what if that thing pulls me down? I'm this old, and if I'm unlucky, there's no way for me to survive. As soon as Big D heard me say that we had to go to the water to investigate, he immediately waved his arms and legs and talked about all sorts of things. Did I say to let you go downstairs? Of course, I'll be the one. I heard him babble and got angry, and I don't understand how he can be so cowardly. I couldn't listen anymore, so I cut him off and took off my shirt. At this point, the guy stopped talking nonsense. His face became bright and cheerful. Really, I understand him so well. Wow, that body figure is good. I used to have such a beautiful figure when I was young. By the way, remember to be careful. I took off my jacket, shirt, and pants and threw them all over for Big D to hold. He was behind my back, chattering non-stop. God, I don't understand why a calm person like Mr. Simmons has such a talkative younger brother. Stop talking. It's too much of a headache. I'll keep an eye on it. I'm coming down. I moved quickly towards the pool, then did a few warm-up movements while saying a few sentences to block Big D's mouth, then bent over and jumped into the water. I jumped down then, holding my breath, dived deep into the bottom of the pool. A chill rushed through me. I sensed that this wasn't because of the cold water but that there was something inside the lake. I scanned the lake a few lines, looked around but still couldn't see anything strange. After a while of fruitless searching, I couldn't hold my breath anymore, so I jumped up and quickly got out of the pool before the water hit my nose. "What's up? Did you see anything?" "Still can't find anything." Big D saw me coming up and quickly asked. I swam back to the edge of the pool and talked to him. Strange? Didn't the police also not be able to investigate the culprit's traces, still thinking that the perpetrator was not human? So why didn't we get any trace this time? When Big D heard me say he couldn't see anything dirty, he quickly asked, "Do you know what time that girl and the cleaning worker drowned?" "It was discovered around 7 o'clock in the evening, the exact time I don't know." I asked Big D about the time frame of the other two victims. Normally, drowning people won't appear out of nowhere unless something special leads them out or close to where they're going at the exact hour they die. I said as I climbed out of the pool. "We'll go back now. We'll come back on time the next day. This is going too slowly. I don't know when we will finish it. I just want to get that money quickly." I found a towel to dry myself, put on my clothes, and urged Big D to come back. "Did you two find anything?" When we came out of the pool area, we saw Lewis was waiting outside. Seeing us leaving, he immediately asked, "There is a little bit. Tomorrow we will have to come and check again." "Ah, Mr. Lewis, where did that card around your neck come from?" I answered over the shoulder. But after a few steps, I remembered something and quickly turned around and asked the pool owner about the fire-patterned card he was wearing. "Ah, this one. Here. This was given to me by a friend, said to be a peace charm." "Is something wrong?" Mr. Lewis seemed hesitant and took a few seconds to answer me. "Ah, it's not like I think your business is related to water, but it's not good to wear something related to fire on your body. The two things will clash. We will come again tomorrow. You can rest assured, we will solve this case." I just basically left a few simple sentences and then said goodbye to him and left, but in my heart, I secretly guessed that he was wearing that to prevent something, like a water demon. The next day, we went back to the pool around the time the other two victims were in trouble. Lewis still avoids joining us in the pool. "Hey Big D, is that you can't swim, so you don't want to get in the water?" I was a bit bored in the water, so I teased Big D a bit. "Don't joke. I won a swimming medal a few times in the past." I splashed some water on the shore where Big D was standing. He both dodged and refuted me. "Then why don't you come down here with me? Am I alone down here boring to death?" "Well, we don't have to go out. There's something else in the water." Big D shook his head and refused to go into the water with me. He's such a useless piece of shit that he can even leave me in the water alone. "Hey, hurry down here with me, it is cool down here," I said as I reached out to want to pull Big D into the water to play with me. I half wanted to tease him, and half wanted to confirm if he really knew how to swim, and if he couldn't, I would laugh at him. But Big D keeps trying to avoid me. I don't know if he's afraid of water or water demons, or both. "Stop joking around. Get up here quickly." I was reaching out to try to pull Big D into the water when suddenly he made a serious face and told me to hurry up to the shore. I looked at Big D's face that didn't look like a lie and instinctively turned to look behind me. The bottom of the pool was now full of dark shadows. They gradually spread out, and then all turned towards me. By the time I saw the thing and was about to go ashore, the black thing wrapped tightly around my legs. The thing that made me and Big D panic just now was the hair. A lot of hair was wrapped around my legs, and it felt like they were trying to pull me under the water.